Hello, welcome to the podcast of Startup Recruitment Failures. I'm Indra, founder and CEO of JobRely. We're building LinkedIn automation platform for outbound recruitment. And today my guest is Ilma Tiki, co-founder and CEO at the remote company. Ilma, could you please introduce yourself and your company?
Hey Indra, nice to be here. So I'm Ilma Tiki, I'm CEO of the remote company, and remote company is a company that unites three SaaS businesses. And it's a team of more than 140 people that are based in 35 countries. And you can guess from the name, the remote company means that we are all working remotely.
Nice.
We have been doing that for the last 8 years. So it's not a COVID impact on us, but it's something that we do believe in. And and we continue to do. So I'm really happy to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. How this idea to work remotely was born?
That was a very practical decision. At that point, our main product was MailerLite. So it's email marketing platform. And we got more and more customers that were based in the United States. So we needed customer support people to work in with different hours than European ones. And this is how Silvestras, our first remote colleague, joined us. He was working from different town in Lithuania, from Klaipėda, from his home. Even though at that point we were still all based in office, we knew that because of his different location and time, we had to change our communication because he was our front office to the customers, right? So when we started learning that and when we got better and better at it, we decided that we can hire anyone from anywhere.
Okay.
And Silvestras, a fun fact, is he's still with us.
Nice, awesome. And so for how many years you were working at office, and now it's 8 years you're all working remotely, right?
Yeah, so MailerLite was born 10 years ago. Okay. So for the first 2 years, everybody were in one small room.
Okay. And so what differences do you see? And especially in terms of hiring and recruiting people, is it easier or more difficult?
It depends. It was much more easier before COVID. And I think it was our big competitive advantage. And when COVID hit and everybody went remote, I was kind of bit in a panic, thinking, what can we do differently right now? Because we're losing our competitive edge. Yeah. And it's still not true. I think, to begin with, you know much less about the candidates that you're hiring because it's really usually you can't get any recommendations. You don't know the workplaces. You have no idea what kind of university they went to because you have never heard that before. Another thing that is, I think, is really, really important when you work remotely. It usually, like the only way to do that successfully, you have to have more of asynchronous communication. And it mostly means written communication. So from our perspective, we do tend to base our hiring on writing more other than on interviews.
That is interesting.
Because we want to hire people who are able to write. And writing is a really interesting thing because the only way to write is you have to start with thinking. And I think it's really much more thoughtful communication when the whole team is writing. So in our case, for a long time, what we have been doing, and I think with MailerLite we still do, people that wanted to join our team, they had to create a newsletter about themselves using MailerLite as a platform. So first, it was a great way to promote our product. Another thing was that people would be working with the product later on, so it's good for them to have a sense if they like it or not.
Of course.
And another thing, it was really a great way to see how they express themselves in writing.
Plus how tech savvy they are in order, to start the campaign using your platform.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. This is very interesting. I actually read this in your book, and I think it's a very nice case scenario, not a boring task you have to do, but it's also creative. You can learn something new. So it's also beneficial for candidates themselves, I believe.
Yeah.
And most of the candidates, from my own experience, Usually they like to perform any task during the selection process because this is the chance basically to show themselves off what they're capable of and etc. So it's sometimes there's a misperception that we might save time for candidates, right? To get less info, and also, well, it's not true. They would be really willing to do if they are motivated, right? So it's very easy to test motivation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is what it's really important as well, because they make a decision if we're right fit beforehand.
Yeah.
So usually these people are not just searching for any job, they're searching for right team for them to join. So this is why we're really transparent and we post a lot of things about our culture, our team. And I think that's another thing, working remotely, because candidates, they don't know you as well. So it's really good to be transparent and, clear how you work as a team.
Totally agree. And since this is a recruitment failures podcast, could you share any failures you had?
Of course. I think even that part about writing, it came out of the failure, because failure is, if you can make a lesson out of it, it's not a failure, it's experience, right?
Right.
So from my experience, I am a very positive and optimistic person. So whenever I see somebody smiling, somebody really having a great energy, I usually would hire them.
Okay.
And that was pretty tricky, because then I would be super biased, because some people, they're really great at interviews, but it doesn't mean that they're like the best fit for that particular position, right?
Yeah.
So this is why I'm really happy that we went with a newsletter and with more writing communication, because for me, it was really helpful to leave interviews at the end of the stage, because this is when I already know that these people are great specialists, they're great candidates. And right now, I'll just check if I like them personally. Because before, I would just hire anyone I like. And usually it would end up being a failure, because I would have so much fun talking.
Yeah.
But then we would have nothing, we wouldn't perform together. It was just a fun conversation.
Yeah.
So I think another thing is just, there's like no point to hire yourself. You already have it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to remember whom you hire, and even like in the hiring process, to add these things, to think beforehand how you can check these things if they are like a right fit for you and what you are actually looking for. Because it's not just specialists. Sometimes if you have a team, if you're not hiring a freelancer for one project, so you do want to check if they can work and want to work in a team, right? You don't want to have like, I don't know, a rock star, most probably.
Yeah.
So I think setting up your hiring process in a way where you can check and be as objective as possible, it's good for me to have less failures and less lessons.
Yeah, there is a saying that a good person is not a profession, right? So of course, what matters are skills and competences. But I really liked also in your book, you mentioned that it's a very good way to decide whether about the basically person's suitability or match to your culture, right? Is to imagine if you could live together for a week in one house, right? So this really gives you some kind of the understanding how much do you like and basically appreciate communicating with that person.
Yeah, in our case, it doesn't start with the question itself. It started because we were actually planning a team retreat that we call Workation in Bali. And we knew that we're going to be living with our team members in one house for the whole winter.
Okay.
So it was a great way not just to have it theoretically asking a question, but you actually knew that you're going to be living together. And it's not just us, we were living with our kids as well. So I wanted to have people that are right examples to my kids.
Yeah.
So it is still kind of true, even though it started kind of being really practical question. And until now, we do make workations when we meet once or twice a year with the whole team. And I think that's a big filter for the potential candidates as well.
Yeah.
Because some people, they wouldn't want to travel around the world to meet more than 100 team members that they haven't met before. It is uncomfortable. And for us, communicating upfront that it's a must. It's like a business trip for us. Not just saying why people should apply, but sharing your culture and maybe even saying some things which people shouldn't apply. It's a good filter, to kind of to shorten the process and don't waste everybody's time, right?
I think so too. And we also had a similar one case situation. I'm not saying that everyone should go to workations, because there are some special occasions, like, I don't know, the birth of child or some other things in their life, so not everyone could attend 100% sure. But if you see, and we had this case that I saw that one person is perfectly capable to join us, but they didn't want to. And for me, it was like a red flag. And I had one-to-one, and I was like, so what is happening? Why not? And they were very cold, I think, with the answers, and it scared me even more. And after a few weeks, I got the inquiry basically to terminate the contract. So it is a thing. If you're motivated to be and to work with these people together, you would come to meet them, because it's nice to socialize for human beings. It's the most nice thing, right? So it also can check the motivation. But could you give any specific example when you hired and then you personally felt that it's something wrong and it was pretty difficult to deal with? Maybe you have some insights for that. What was the most regretful, maybe, failure?
Well, I remember once, it was years ago, we were looking for an administrator. And it's a really hard position, because you kind of almost everyone can apply, and then you have no idea who's the right fit, because it's just, what do you check, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we got really hundreds of applications, and in the final, I didn't choose the lady that was amazing candidate, because I thought that she was too creative for the position. So instead I went with another one that we said goodbye to in a month.
Okay.
And then the creative one joined us. She's still with us.
Okay.
And my takeaway was that I don't have to put my own perceptions on somebody. If somebody thinks that it's a right position for them, they should do it. And actually, especially creativity is a tricky thing, because creative people, they can find creativity wherever it is. I mean, you can be so creative being an administrator, because you have your job list is just so wide, right? And
to take care of everything.
Exactly. And I think another thing is about not, sometimes we wouldn't hire somebody because we thought they're too good for us. And that's another thing. If somebody is already, applying, they made a decision, why should I put on my own opinions if we are right fit for them or not? So I think I would always go with somebody that I think is the best right now, without putting all my kind of opinions on that.
Yeah, it is like this. Sometimes somehow we feel this right, I think, to make the decision for other people's, right? Even they say that, I can find a lot of creativity here. We just judge that, no, maybe go and find another job position, right? And it's super interesting how we do that, but it's done. And it's very, I think, still creativity at some point when talking about the personal competence is more like to be creative in solution and in making some decisions and solving some problems. You have to be creative. If you're not, then you're very stubborn and you won't find the way out of any particular situation if it's more complicated. And okay, this is interesting. And when we touch this personal biases, I know that you just said there are people from 25 countries working at the remote company. How is it going with this diversity? How do you see it?
Yeah. Well, in our case, it just happened, just because we hire remotely, we hire globally. Our team is working from anywhere. It's even their home location is changing from time to time, and we're totally fine with it. I love the saying that diversity is based on location, and inclusivity is global. Okay. Right? Because it actually depends where you're based. If you are in the United States, the diversity is one thing. And usually quite often it's about the metric. You just put everyone in one spot, you measure something and you can say either if it's diverse or not. Myself, I don't focus that much on diversity. I am much more concerned about inclusivity, and I really care if our team members have that sense of belonging. So this is where I put my energy into.
What does it mean? Could you give an example for this?
I think in general, when you work remotely, you are much more inclusive because you are thinking about each and everyone. It doesn't matter if it's online or offline event. If somebody traveled around the world to your vacation, most probably you want everybody to feel included and be there. So it can be even like if you have, Muslim people that have to pray at certain hour. So first you're going to give them space and time to do that. But at the same time, you do have to think about all others. So most probably going to have coffee break at the time or something else, right? So it's not giving something special to one, but it's just more like including everyone in the decisions. And I think this is what quite often happens in the office environment. I mean, I was working in a big corporation before, and it was like we'd spend the whole time in the office. And some people wouldn't just notice some things like that somebody would never stay in a party after work because they have kids. And it's still like the same crowd everywhere. Somebody wouldn't notice that the same people are always having lunch and the new team members are not included, right? And this is about noticing stuff and, kind of noticing the whole dynamic, how it's changing and what you can do as a leader to include these people, especially the new team members. So whatever we have a meeting or whatever we do, my idea is always how to include everyone and make it intentionally, because culture is something that it doesn't matter if you do anything or if you don't, it will happen. But I think it's better when it happens the way you want it to be. And it's inclusive, right?
Of course. Well, when you mentioned coffee and praying time, I remembered a story of myself because I worked in Bahrain and Middle East. And of course, there was Ramadan, meaning that people don't drink, don't eat during daytime. And I came to office and it was the first day of Ramadan and I wanted to make coffee. And then HR came to me and they no, you cannot, because of course they won't be drinking with you, but it's not nice, to drink coffee in front of everyone because they're fasting. And I was so disappointed and I was just very sad because for the next month, I won't be able to make coffee at office. But that HR guy was really amazing. And when there was a praying time and everyone went out of office, he came to me and he's like, now you can make your coffee. And I was, okay, so I will be able to have coffee at office, during Ramadan. So this really takes a lot, right? To when you introduce a diverse person in some kind of the environment, you need to take care of them, right? And it's more difficult than everyone is the same. So have you had any cases like it was pretty difficult to find the solution at first, right? And not to forget that there is another human being having their needs, basically.
I think we are always learning and we are all super open saying that we don't know so much. So we're learning with every new team member. So last New Year's Eve kind of online party was with a magician. And also later on, I knew, I got to know that it's kind of not allowed in some cultures. So they just wrote me saying, I'm sorry, we couldn't participate in that event. And I think that's totally fine as long as people understand that you're going to be making mistakes. Yeah, but I think, in my case, it's just not even about the cultures or about the country or about something else. What we do and what I really like is that every time we have a new team member, we don't say only the name, position or country, but we ask them to do Pecha Kucha presentation about themselves. So it's Pecha Kucha is like a type of presentations where you have 20 slides that is automatically changing every 20 seconds.
Okay.
So everyone has 6 minutes and 40 seconds that they record the video about themselves. So it's a great way, instead of saying that, oh, there's somebody from some country. And, if you've never met anyone from, I don't know, Senegal, maybe you can have some stereotypes about these people and what to expect from them. I don't want that. And quite often we don't even mention country. We just ask everybody to watch Pecha Kucha, because this is a way for people to tell their story. And it's totally up to them. Some of them, they want to share the family story, how they met their wife and which cousin is their, I don't know, the best or whatever. Somebody, they're really going through education and through professional achievements and so on. And I think that's a really great way for people to remember the new team member, because it's just not name, position, but you remember some things because it is a story, right? And I think human beings are great at storytelling. And I think giving space for people to tell more, it's a really great way kind of to start conversation. Even though you won't be working with that person on daily basis, it's a much more easier way to, come back and say, oh my God, Indra, how's your dog? Or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Another thing that we're doing when we onboard is that everyone, especially like all the team leaders, they have the manual called How to Work with Me.
Okay, yeah, it's very interesting. I also read about this one and even tried to make one myself.
So it's a great way, because, okay, so I'm a manager. So what? What does it mean? Like nobody knows how I manage or how I lead and what to expect. And when you work remotely, you do have a lot of assumptions, guessing, and it's really bad because it wastes your time and energy, right? It's very true in the office as well, but in the office you can ask people around, you can watch what's going on. In the office, they do have a lot of unwritten rules as well. And I think this is why hybrid environment it's a tricky concept, because some unwritten rules are still in an office, but people working remotely have no idea about them. So I love that manual that team members that are joining my team, they can read how to work with me. And at some point, they might be surprised that I'm doing that, but they will know that at Sunday evening, they might get a message from me just because I got an idea that I want to share and I don't want to forget. And that's it. It's not that they have to reply. I don't expect them to execute on it. We're going to have a call, next week, and we're going to discuss that. So I think being upfront, being super clear in your communication is something that is really needed. And it's not even about cultures, about nationalities. I think it's much more important to talk about what kind of people we are, what kind of personalities we are, how we work. And it even starts with ourselves, knowing ourselves, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Because we do change as well,
one.
right?
Yeah, but that's so true, because how could you expect that everyone else will read your mind, basically, right? And if you cannot explain yourself, maybe you don't even know. And 1 week is one expectations you have, another week it's totally different. So it's very important to clarify. Also, what is very interesting for me, because I believe you got one of the biggest acquisition in Lithuania. How is the life now after you've been acquired? Do you see any changes, or what was the way, the transition period? Maybe you are still in that period.
Yeah, I'm still CEO at MailerLite. I'm still there. I do care about the company deeply. And in our case, part of the deal was that we got stocks at the publicly traded company in Poland. And so it means that I just have a bigger team and bigger challenges. Another thing in our case, it's more about partnership, because we knew exactly why we made the deal. And the Polish company, they wanted the global customers and the global knowledge. And even actually, a fun fact is that our knowledge and our experience in remote hiring and in remote environment is something that was very important in making decision for them, because we can see how many companies are they're still searching how it could be done, and they're a bit lost and so on in that perspective as well. In our case, they did several IPOs, so it's something that we are willing to learn as well. So I think it's more like a partnership, and myself, I'm still there. The only thing that changed is that we just have a bigger team, I guess.
Okay. This is really cool, and congratulations on that, because it's when you think about it, and I know maybe it's a bit stupid to think so, but sometimes we Lithuanians have this stereotype that we are too small from a country which is too small and we cannot go globally and have these kind of achievements. So I think each of these cases gives meaning other startup founders, more and more motivation and belief that this is possible.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think I'm the most kind of thankful for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's I'm happy that we showed that having a remote team,
mm-hmm.
it's not an obstacle kind of to have, being successful.
Exactly.
And at the same time, I think the future is for the global teams.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way to build a global product.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is how diversity will come as a default setting, right?
Exactly, inevitably.
So I think that my perspective is that really hiring globally, it's something that really it's a great way for any leader to broaden the perspective towards world and how it works and how you can work together.
Great. What would be your key insight for the other startup founders or managers out of your experience you have? What would be your key advice?
I think it's really important how you form your team. Mm-hmm. And my just recent even experience is that in the team, you not just need a developer, designer, a leader, a project manager mm-hmm. with specific skills. But right now in our team, we're even looking at personality traits. So right now we're doing DISC personality test. It's like mm-hmm. 4 letters. And recently we did one within our smaller teams, just to see if we have all the letters like D, I, mm-hmm. S, C. And interestingly enough, if you're lacking somebody, you don't perform that well mm-hmm. because you do need somebody to have a vision. You do need somebody that is like more analytic. Mm-hmm. You do need somebody that acts, right? And loves checklists, somebody that inspires, right? So I think when hiring and when forming a team, it's a great way to look at it. First, to begin with you, to know who you are, mm-hmm. where you are the best at, and then look for others to to complement you. Mm-hmm. So I think that from my perspective, that DISC is really a really simple way to know who does what the best. Mm-hmm. Don't hire yourself and have, diversity from that perspective, because that's the only way to have that mm-hmm. really effective team that moves forward, mm-hmm. because everybody is going to be really great at some other way. It doesn't even matter what kind of position they are at.
Mm-hmm. Great advice, because I think this is most common mistake to hire someone who is the same as you are, right? Because then you're somehow appreciated. And some of the people might think that it's, too luxury to go according to the personality types. I need a developer and I don't have this luxury to choose from, right? I just hire anyone who is willing to join my team. But yeah, in order to be not just a team, but to be a very successful one, you need to work a little bit more and deeper. So great. Thank you so much, Ilma, for your time and sharing your stories.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the listeners. For more podcasts, please visit jobrely.com.